In our last session, we have seen how to discover devices in Op Manager Plus. Today, we will talk about the server performance metrics and the network devices performance metrics. When we talk about the server performance metrics, Op Manager module will monitor all the parameters of the devices using the SNMP protocol or the WMI, and for Linux devices we monitor using SSH and Telnet protocols. So this is all we would talk about today. So first let's talk about the performance monitors. The performance monitors, we've got almost about close to 3000 performance monitors in Op Manager module. Based on the protocol and vendor, each of these performance metrics would automatically associated to the devices immediately after that is being discovered. So in order to add a new performance monitor, if any of these 2000 plus performance monitor is not sufficient for a device, we can add a custom monitor at any point of time with the help of SNMP object IDs and the MIBs of that particular device. We can add a bulk SNMP monitors as well, provided you choose the vendor and add a couple of SNMP overlays and then provide the respective monitor names, and then we would be able to do a custom SNMP monitor. Likewise, we can add a custom Windows based monitor as well. So all of these monitors can be associated to the devices manually if you want any of these to be particularly monitored on a device by clicking on associate and select the respective monitors and then move next, and then select the respective vendor and category, and then probably we can associate them. Let us say it's a performance monitors and you've got host resource monitors. Let's say it's a free disk space in GB needs to be associated to certain devices. You've got all the list of devices. Select those devices, move them to the right and apply and overwrite so that you would be able to associate those performance monitors to these devices selected. We would now talk about another monitor we support in Op Manager module is on Windows service monitors. So for any of the Windows machines, if we wanted to check on the service which runs on that particular machine, like the Prince Polar or DHCP server or event log or IIS service or any of these services, or these are a couple of default services you see right here, or if you want to add any of the other Windows services which especially runs on a particular Windows machine, or let's say if you've got 100 200 Windows machines and you have a common Windows service that needs to be monitored, probably we can go ahead and then fetch that particular Windows service monitor from a device, and you would be able to have a list of all the Windows services running on a particular machine. So probably we can select those Windows services and add that to the global template so that you can associate that particular Windows service to multiple devices at the same time. If the Windows services is monitored with the admin privileged WMI Windows credentials, you have the opportunity to either restart the Windows service or restart the server itself, or take no actions based on how critical that Windows service is if that goes down. So that is another management activity where Op Manager can help you in terms of Windows service monitoring. We then talk about the VMware events, which is exclusively for VMware, and any of the events which happens inside your vCenter, any VM related events. For example, if it's a VM is migrated from one host to another, or relocated events, or as the host has been newly added or removed, or is that the name has been changed, or if a particular VM is powered off or on or connected, disconnected, any of these events which happens inside the vCenter environment, we would be able to have them captured and notified. And there are few default events which is readily available for monitoring, and we can add a list of other VMware events as well. So probably we can fetch that from the vCenter and then we can add them and start monitoring for that particular vCenter. The VMware vCenter provides almost about 400 plus events. We can just go ahead and then select the ones which is very critical for our organization and monitor the same. And You would also be able to customize the severity of the alert which gets generated based on the event it raises. So probably for one of the organization it might be attention. For another organization the same event can be critical. So based on the requirement you can just create and then change the severity of that particular event and start its monitoring. The next monitor we would look about from the Op Manager module is process monitors. Any process which runs on a Windows machine or a Linux box and that needs to keep an eye on, we can have a new process template created and then keep a look at what is happening for that particular process. We can fetch that from a particular device using the respective protocol that particular device is using, and then you would be able to start listing down all the processes which runs on the machine. So you would be able to see all the processes listed down and then select those processes which needs to be monitored, and you will be able to gain a detailed information about the CPU, the memory and the instance count that particular process is using. Next, we'll talk about the files and folder monitors. And files and folder monitors are exclusively only for your Windows box. So if you wanted to keep an eye on how that file is performing, we would be able to provide the name of the file template, provide the complete path of the file, and then you would be able to understand the existence of the file, whether the file exists on that location or not. Do you want to monitor if the file does not exist or if the file comes into the place of that particular path, the size of the file and the age of the file, like how long that file is in the same location, and if there is a modification in the file as well. This can be captured using the file monitoring of Op Manager. Also, this place where you may need to monitor the content of the file. Let's say for log file, if you want to monitor the word called error in a particular file, there we might need to install an agent, the log file agent. Once the agent has been installed, probably the agent can read the entire file and can help you to understand whether the particular word is available or not. Same way, we have got the folder monitor as well. We can add the folder path and monitor the subfolders, the existence of the folder, the size, the modification of the folder, the contents of a particular file name, the age, size, and the count of the files inside as well. So that's how you monitor a folder on a Windows machine. Next, we'll talk about service monitors. Service monitors are nothing but monitoring a particular service. It's about checking the TCP port's availability. You can add any TCP port just by clicking on add, provide the service name, the port number if it's a service which runs on a specific TCP port in your organization and you wanted to know whether that is available or not. Probably can add a new service monitor and then start its monitoring. Understand whether that particular service is up or down. And the same service can be associated to multiple devices as well by just clicking associate. Next is about URL monitors. To monitor the response time and the availability of the URL or a website, you can just go ahead and then add a URL monitor, providing the URL monitor's name, the complete URL, and the monitoring interval at which you want to monitor the respective URLs, and then you would be able to go ahead and then start the monitoring as well. If at all that particular URL does require an authorization username and password, kindly go ahead and then provide the same and save. You would be able to have the URL monitors availability and the response time captured. The next few things which we talk about on Windows Server monitoring is about event log rules and script templates. So when we talk about event log rules, so it is all about the events which happens on a Windows machine. So from the native tool like Event Viewer, you would be able to see what are the events which logs in the Windows machine. So any of these Windows events which gets logged, you would be able to capture them by creating a new event log monitor based on what type of the log file it is. Is that a system file? Is that a security log file? Or is it an application level log file? And then probably you can just provide the name, the event ID, and probably the source category if it's available, and then probably the user details and what type of event that is. Probably all of these information are readily available from the event viewer, the native tool. Probably once you log into the Windows box, gather all these information, and then you can define what level of severity it needs to generate as an alert in Op Manager and save. So from then on, if that particular event happens, Op Manager would raise the alert for you. Script templates are nothing but anything which cannot be achieved so far with the help of the protocols we're talking about as an SNMP or WMI or CLI credentials. Probably you might need to go ahead and then create a template of the scripts which you wanted to write in any of the language like Java, VB script or Perl script, anything as such. We can execute that against the device and gain that results from the device. Say you wanted to know about the file size, the cache memory, or let's say for example you wanted to know about the expiry time of an SSL certificate. Probably you can also write a script on the same, and then you would be able to see how that performs. So it's about, there are a few formats which you have to look forward to. So you would be able to gain that information right here. So you would have to go with the command line, the body of the script, and then probably you wanted to monitor that or execute that from the local server or on a monitored machine. So probably once that has been selected, you can just go save and the script template is ready for you. You can associate that to multiple devices. So these are exclusively for your servers, and we would lastly talk about the application monitors right here. Application monitors here in Op Manager, this is the basic level of monitoring with the help of WMI protocol on an application server. If it seems to be an Active Directory MS SQL Exchange servers, when Op Manager identifies that as an application server, these are the predefined set of monitors available for that monitored using Windows protocol. This is not an in-depth monitoring of those application servers. This is about the application level of monitoring with these performance metrics using Windows credentials. So you can change the monitoring interval as per the requirement and save those configurations and then associate them automatically to those devices which seems to be found as AD MS SQL or Exchange devices.